So if it's going to happen, when would it happen? When would Georgia and Florida go home and home, leave Jacksonville for good? When would that happen? That's kind of a question a lot of people want to know the answer to. Let's talk about it just for a second. Tell me what you think down below. Um, First of all, I'm skeptical this is going to happen. Period. I'm skeptical. I don't know. I don't know that there's really a giant appetite for Georgia fans to leave there. Florida, I think, although it's Georgia's had two coaches this century, basically, but Florida has just rotated people through there. Spurrier, Meyer, Muschamp, um, just had a bunch of guys. Georgia's had Mark and Kirby, and that's it. And so I don't know that there's really a giant desire to leave from Georgia fans. I think Florida fans have always enjoyed it because it's right there. So I don't know that there's a lot of appetite for this. But let's talk about it. I mean, it's one thing that I think for Georgia to just leave that kind of money on the table. I don't know about that. I mean, in 2022, this coming season, Georgia's going to make $4.5 million off of Georgia, Florida. So playing that game down there, every year would, they're going to cover the cost for $350,000 for Georgia to go down there and play. 4.5 million dollars. That's a lot of money that Georgia, gets every year moving forward, and that's just to 2025. So the short answer is, when would they change it? It'd be 2025 probably. But when you think about that Georgia game down there every single year, there's so much tradition. There's a lot of discussion about what it means for everybody. And this is take a look at this past year's Georgia Florida game. This isn't DAWGSTRUCTION. Make sure that you're checking that out down below. It's the story of the 2021 season, and this past season, Georgia Florida was a kind of a nasty blowout affair in way for the Dogs, but that game means so much no matter who wins down there every single season, because you got 40,000 Georgia fans going down there, spending time on the coast, and I am skeptical that this will change. I always leave Jacksonville with some notes for the city, because just because I don't think it necessarily will change doesn't mean that the experience can't be improved. I think if that were to happen, it would be, you know, it would probably be after 20. It would certainly be after 2025. But the question would be: is there something coming in the SEC's future that would really, require this game to go home and home? And the answer to that is going to be no. Okay, and the reason why is you now have, whereas Georgia Florida for a quarter of a century basically was the only neutral site game in the league. Now you're going to have three in the league, because of three newcomers in A&M, Texas, and Oklahoma. And Texas and Oklahoma are not stopping playing the Red River Shootout. They're not. That's not happening. There's never a discussion of that. Kirby has talked about this and as it being a recruiting opportunity that they're missing in Athens. But what Kirby I think is missing, while that is a good argument, what Kirby is missing is the audience for this game is so consistent and has been consistent, and probably always will be consistent no matter if the teams are good or not, because of the venue, because of the pageantry, and so forth. So people say, oh, you know, COVID changed the way people watch television. Yeah, it did. Why? Because there's no fans in the stands. All right. Well, what happens when you move the game from what people have always known? Will that have an effect? Yeah, it will. And so the game will be less. It will matter less in terms of the pageantry of college football. I think it's a dangerous thing to do if you're Georgia switching this game. I'm not saying 100% that you always got to be in Jacksonville. My feeling on this has evolved over time. At first, I really didn't. I mean, it didn't make a lot of sense to me to always go down there, and a lot of me still feels the same way. But once you don't start having that game, what else are you willing to trade in order to get a recruiting advantage? I mean, you just won the national championship. Was it because of the FOIA law that was passed in 2016? No, it wasn't. Was it because of recruiting? Yeah, it was. I mean, I think a lot of it was. So, how much would this game going to Athens every other year affect you? I think it's something you do not want to change. And I think because the city of Jacksonville um, has an economic impact of close to $35 million a year, they're not going to let this game get away. They will pay the money. This is a Jacksonville tradition, the likes of, I mean, they would not have the Jags down there without this game. So if it would happen, it would have to happen after 2025. But I am just so skeptical that it will. And I know everybody watching this that doesn't want it in Jacksonville, and when I say everyone, I mean the vocal minority. You got your things to say, and that's great. And I'm actually not saying what you're saying is wrong. What I'm saying is that's not a reason to leave the city. I mean, that's not a reason to leave one of the things that makes you what you are. I mean, why don't you change your color to green while you're at it? What Georgia is, Jacksonville has a lot to do with what Georgia is. And if you don't understand what beating the Gators in Jacksonville means and what that holds, then you really don't have a great grasp of of Georgia. Um, the uh, the notion that you could change this game, play it in late October in front of 75,000 fans at Florida Field when the Gators aren't good, just doesn't have the same pop. Okay. Um, and do you really want to add a road game to your slate? I mean, I don't think the league will do this, but it's possible that the six schools that are in neutral site games could make such a fuss about it that they require everybody else to get in bed with that too, the other 10 schools. I don't think that's going to happen. But, you know, I think for Georgia it's great exposure in Florida. I think for Georgia it's great exposure because you're on CBS and soon to be ABC every single year, no matter what, every single time slot, the whole deal. Um, and I think for South Georgia, this is their home game, and that is an extremely passionate fan base. The likes of which those of us who grew up in Atlanta, the it's not the same. It's a really big game down there. Maybe the way Tech was in Atlanta in the 80s and 90s. Even then, I mean, it's just they're all different monsters what Georgia deals with. So when would they change it? I don't know that they ever will, but if they will, it won't be in the next couple of years. And I also, the amount of money it generates for the city of Jacksonville, I don't see the city really letting it go. As a person who um, gets revenue when Georgia plays at home, I would say I would love for another home game. And for that home game to be Florida, that would be exceptional for the tax base in Athens, for the city of Athens, for town, ACC, Atlanta, Clark County, excuse me, Athens, Clark County. It would be an exceptional weekend. Um, I just don't think it's worth trading in who you are. The money isn't worth all that. That's what I think. But in terms of when will it happen, I'm skeptical of it. Well, but you tell me what you think. Tell me down below. Hey, make sure you're picking up DAWGSTRUCTION. Get it to you as soon as possible.